Nigeria's elderly population of about 11 million is under the great test threat from coronavirus. This is why providing for their peculiar needs within the context of the coronavirus pandemic is the focus of this year's World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Ekemini Williams has more.
In the spirit of the present time, there was strict compliance with the safe distancing and face mask protocol at this event to mark the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day.
I welcome all of us to this gathering.
Elderly persons are also considered to be at the greatest risk from the coronavirus, which explains the theme of the day: older persons and COVID-19, raising voices, breaking the circle of inequality, discrimination, neglect, and abuse. Dave Omakaro Foundation and Nigerian Union of Journalists, in collaboration with the Gerontology Association of Nigeria, drew attention to the challenges confronting the elderly, who have become among the most vulnerable in the society because of age-related ailments and reduced incomes.
Take a look at the pensions issue in Nigeria to clearly understand how much abuse that the elderly face in this country.
Currently, we have less than a dozen geriatricians in the country. So if we look at that statistics, even if we say 12 people to 11 million older adults, that's almost a ratio of 1 to 1 million. That is definitely not acceptable.
And they go to hospitals and they are not attended to. So many things went on during this COVID-19 lockdown.
They regretted the delay in approval of the National Policy on Care and Welfare of Older Persons because of the disruptions caused by COVID-19.
We are hoping and praying to God too that at the end of this COVID-19, the document will be sent to FAIC for approval. It is only when it is approved that we will know that the real work on aging will begin.
Executive Director Dave Omakaro Foundation, Omakaro, called for more protection of older persons and their inclusion in the country's agenda.
Older persons are invisible in government programming. Older persons are invisible in development agendas. In agriculture, we have not heard much about target on older persons. Social protection, we have pillar programs for all the other age demographics, but there's no pointed program on older persons. And older persons should have older persons grants.
Nigerian Network of Journalists for Aging was inaugurated by the Nigerian Union of Journalists to undertake further advocacy on the plight of the elderly in our society. The Ministries of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Ministry of State Finance, Budget and National Planning, the National Human Rights Commission, the National Bureau of Statistics and the NTA, who can all help the cause of the elderly, were represented at the event held at the NUJ Press Center in Abuja. In Abuja, Ekemini Williams, NTA News.
Now, if you think adults are the only ones who encounter challenges and have a whole lot of puzzles to solve, then think again, because even children have their own share of baggage to carry, and you can imagine the heavy load of burden to bear on their tender shoulders. Let's join Momso Damien Lati as she takes us through the plight of the African child.
At 13, Hadiza has never seen the four walls of a classroom because she's never attended one alongside her siblings. All they've ever done since birth is join their mother and her friends on the street or by the wayside to beg for alms, the school of hard knocks. However, formal schooling is a lifelong dream of hers. At 16, all things being equal, the Nigerian child is expected to be winding up secondary school or even beginning tertiary education. But not so for Sunday Agbo. 16 years, no apparent defects, and still in primary 5.
My mommy and my daddy, there is no money to train me in the school, that is why they chase me away sometimes.
Okay, taking these young boys who traveled far distances leaving behind their families in search of religious knowledge, bare feet, hungry, without proper clothing, and lacking the care every child deserves. The sad commentary continues with the stories of these 7, 11, 12, and 13-year-olds, all defiled and abused by men old enough to be their fathers.
Yes, I was abused by 12 men at different times. They approached me while I was hawking.
When I'm sleeping, they do me button.
Or is it Daniel, who has seen and experienced hunger in the lockdown, compelling him to turn businessman overnight?
The first lockdown, I was at home. I was not doing anything. So we suffer before we eat. My mom will come to market, she will not sell. Sometimes we eat once in a day. Before my friend now introduced me to selling of pure water.
These are only a few of the million of the faces of an African child. Starvation, abuses, child labor, exposure to all forms of danger, and inability to acquire education, not to talk of quality one.
Chair is not good, and board is not good.
Their plight crystallizes the focus of the International Day of the African Child.
Let them cooperate with us. Let them let them do everything for us.
The genesis of these is traced back to the Soweto uprising of 1976, where some South African students protesting the poor system of education and apartheid lost their lives.
It gives every African child the courage, it gives every African child the boldness to speak if they have been abused.
The sad face of the African child mirrors its lost innocence and fading hopes in a continent battling a myriad of problems. The solution may just be in the caring hand extended by a concerned elder. Momso Damien Dati, NTA News.
The announcement by the Minister of Agriculture that the federal government is to spend 13 billion naira to fight locust and quillia birds has been generating reactions from Nigerians. A fact check carried out by NTA indicates that the 13 billion naira approved by the Federal Executive Council is not only meant for fighting locust and quillia birds infestation, but other livestock concerns. Here is Musa Baba Ali with the details.
Winnowing is the traditional process of separating chaff from grains, just like what these women are doing. This is to ensure that the grains are free from hogs. It is exactly what news fact checking is about. It ensures that information is not only scrutinized, but also makes fact checked are disseminated appropriately. This informed this mission. Fact-checking on the 13 billion naira pest control fund announced by the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohammed Sabananono, in Benin Kebbi State.
The President approved intervention to the extent of 13 billion naira to fight these menace.
These are facts that the Federal Executive Council had on the 11th of March this year approved 13 billion 940 million naira intervention fund to the Minister of Agriculture. However, the Minister of Agriculture, who announced the figure while flagging off the area fumigation against cooler birds and locusts, did not give details on what the money will be spent on. The fact-check carried out by NTA Agricultural Desk confirmed that the 13 billion naira is to cover 3 major agricultural activities. Information made available by the Ministry of Agriculture shows that the sum of 2,857 million naira is meant for aerial and ground control of killer birds, locusts, and grasshoppers in 12 states. 9,602 million naira is to be expended on control of transboundary animal and zoonotic diseases. The document also reveals that the federal government will upgrade abattoirs and slaughterhouses nationwide.
Apart from the issue of the migratory pest, we are also faced with challenges of animal diseases and zoonotic diseases. And most of these zoonotic diseases are the ones that affect human beings. So we also requested that the federal government should support with an intervention fund so that we can take care of these animal diseases that affect animal production and those zoonotic diseases.
The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations had alerted the Nigerian government on invasion by locusts and cooler birds in West Africa and the need for government to guard her territory. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
I will now take you to Gombe, where the state government has procured 20,000 metric tons of fertilizer for resale to farmers at subsidized price for the 2020 wet season farming. Correspondent Emmanuel Akila has details of the report.
Persistent hike in the market price of chemical fertilizer has been a bane to sufficient food production among peasant farmers in Nigeria, a situation that has attracted attention of the government over the years.
Gombe has procured 20,000 metric tons of assorted fertilizer for sale to our farmers. This is a clear testimony of our commitment to improving agricultural production in the state. Our objective is to ensure that our rural farmers are supplied all the basic farm inputs at their doorsteps.
Stakeholders in agriculture appreciate the importance accorded the sector by the Inouye Hayas administration despite dwindling resources occasioned by the novel coronavirus pandemic. Fertilizer has remained a critical input in agriculture. Therefore, the procurement of the fertilizer by the Gombe State government for resale to farmers at subsidized rate is a welcome development on their part, and they see it as a morale booster towards ensuring food sufficiency in Nigeria.
This is a welcome intervention. We really appreciate it. We appreciate His Excellency for bringing, for timely intervening in terms of fertilizer application and agrochemicals.
The fertilizer has been sent to agricultural stores in the local government areas for easy access by farmers at the subsidized rate of 5,000 naira per bag. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akida, NTA News.
Anything to improve food production at this period of COVID-19 threat to food security is good news. No surprise, therefore, that farmers in Ebonyi State are taking advantage of federal government's agricultural inputs for farmers across the country. Chika Okorie reports that rice farmers who are beneficiaries of this federal government's gesture in Ebonyi State are set to improve their yield.
In the economic diversification plan of the federal government, the agricultural sector takes premium, obviously to bridge the gap created by the ban placed on importation, especially rice. In Ebonyi State, about 5,000 farmers under the aegis of Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria have received inputs such as Faro 44, fertilizer, among others, at a subsidized rate to embark on massive cultivation of the crop they have comparative advantage on.
Mr. President feels that Ebonyi is historically a rice-producing area. But he feels that we are not doing the best. Our potential in rice production is still far-fetched. He felt that he could do something better by assisting the farmers to increase the rice production in Ebonyi State. And that is why he brought the inputs. The rest of this thing is for you to collect and pay back.
Describing the gesture as a boost to rice cultivation, some of the beneficiaries lamented the paucity of fund affects land preparation.
It's going to help boost farming. Next year you are going to see the increase in yield, because we have never been assisted like this. We appreciate the federal government for sending this very early. It will help us to have great harvest next year.
In Abuja, Chika Ukore,
And Nigeria has added her voice condemning any action or threat that will undermine the ability of the International Criminal Court to freely exercise its mandate and to carry out its core functions. A statement by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Nigeria reiterates strong and consistent support for the International Criminal Court and its vital mission. The statement further explains the stand of Nigeria as captured during the 20th anniversary of the adoption of the Rome Statute, in which President Muhammadu Buhari restated Nigeria's position, pointing out the alarming proliferation of serious crimes around the world. Also at the time, the president urged all states that have not yet done so to, as a matter of deliberate state policy, assent to the Rome Statute for it to become a universal treaty. And on a sad note, President Muhammadu Buhari commiserates with family of Justice M.O. Ayetunde, sympathizing with friends and all professional colleagues over the passing of the erudite lawyer. In a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, President Buhari also commiserates with the Nigerian Bar Association and body of benchers, believing that the years of sacrifice and diligent work of the legal luminary will continue to resonate for posterity to learn and be inspired. The president prays for a repose of the soul of the departed, urging family members, including senior assistants to the president on finance and fiscal policy, Dr. Bode Oyetunde, to take solace in their father's good works. And with that, we conclude News Extra for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I am Fatima Umar Buba. Please stay safe.
Our papa and our mama, I beg. Una go don't hear about this thing we call coronavirus, the sickness we call COVID-19. A very bad sickness. It don't kill plenty people and it still dey kill. And people will get sickness we don't already dead them body. If they catch this sickness, they terrible. That's why we won't come tell una, say I beg. Make una not let people where they work anyhow, make them come una, make una just stay for house. Make una wear mask.